Some moves begin quietly, and then later they turn into the little detail that changes an entire Sunday. And Keaton Mitchell landing with the Chargers has that kind of feeling, a hidden opportunity. Because Mike McDaniel did not wait around for the dust to settle before making that call. That says something. Today we're talking speed, fit, tough roster cuts, Njoku trying to bounce back, and Matlock fighting to stay alive on this roster. Hit that like button because this Chargers offense is starting to find a whole new soul. What pulls me into this Keaton Mitchell story is not just the signing, it's the speed. It's the fact that he said when free agency opened, Mike McDaniel and the coaching staff called him in probably about 20 seconds. 20 seconds. That does not feel like a curiosity call. That does not feel like a team simply checking the market. That does not feel like some normal, let's see what the price is conversation. That feels like conviction. That feels like a coach staring at one specific piece and saying, this guy fits exactly what I want to build in Los Angeles. And that makes the whole thing feel a lot bigger because the Chargers did not just swap out one name at offensive coordinator. Going from Greg Roman to Mike McDaniel changes the entire breathing pattern of this offense. Harbaugh is allowing a real identity shift, and that shift did not come with one massive headline trade. It did not come with A.J. Brown. It did not come with George Pickens walking through the door. It came with role players, functional pieces, Alec Ingold, Charlie Kolar, blocking adjustments, tempo, movement, and now Mitchell arriving as one of the most underrated signings of the offseason. And I will defend this move all day. When a 24-year-old running back with that kind of burst becomes available, you cannot sit around waiting for the rest of the league to wake up. Baltimore let Mitchell hit the market, and the Chargers went out and got him. 2 years, $9.5 million, team-friendly structure with $4.25 million in 2027 cap savings if he becomes a post-June 1 cut. For a player who has averaged 6.3 yards per carry in 26 NFL games, caught 19 of 24 targets at 9.7 yards per catch, and can help in the return game, that is value. Real value. Now put that next to Justin Herbert. Put that next to Omarion Hampton, who enters year 2 trying to stay healthy and take on that workhorse role. Mitchell does not have to be the savior. That is the beautiful part of this. He can be the changeup, the poison, the run that flips the angle, the short pass that turns into a chunk play, the threat that makes a linebacker freeze for half a second. And half a second, with Herbert reading the field, is already punishment. Kimani Vidal still has his place, absolutely, but McDaniel needed a complementary back with real juice for his outside zone game. Somebody who can turn design into panic. And if Mitchell stays healthy, this signing will not stay a footnote for very long, because speed in this offense is not decoration, it is a weapon. And after the excitement around Mitchell, we get the other side of the offseason. The side that is not always pretty, but tells you a lot about what this coaching staff is trying to build. The Chargers made some bottom-of-the-roster moves on Tuesday, and that kind of thing can feel small if you only chase the big headlines. But if you follow this team every day, you know this is where the competition floor gets rearranged. According to Daniel Popper of The Athletic, Los Angeles signed 3 players: tight end Johnny Pascuzzi, safety Miles Purchase, and offensive tackle Laken Vakalahi. To make room, the team waived edge rusher Niles King, tight ends Tanner McLaughlin and Thomas Yasmin, and waived injured cornerback Jeremiah Wilson. It is not glamorous, it is selection. It is the team saying, this body, this skill set, this moment makes more sense for what we want to test. Pascuzzi had already caught some attention during his rookie minicamp tryout, and his profile fits with what is happening on offense. He spent time at Iowa, then Tulane. He was not a major college pass catcher, but he brings potential as a move blocker and special teams player. And that matters because McDaniel's offense does not live only on stars running pretty routes. It needs tight ends who can block on the move, hold angles, sell the run, help disguise intent, and step onto the field without telling the defense what is coming. Miles Purchase has a different story. He joined the Chargers as an undrafted free agent in 2025, originally as a cornerback, played well in the preseason, and is now transitioning to safety. That is the kind of adjustment that can save a career. Not every defensive back finds his home right away in the NFL. Sometimes the fit shows up when a team sees instincts, processing, and physicality for a different role, and Vakalahi is the rawest project of the group. 6'5", 320 pounds, an international player, originally with the Eagles in 2024, a Super Bowl champion as a rookie, and used mostly as a backup left tackle. Nobody needs to pretend he walks in ready to start. But size, background, and physical tools give the Chargers a chance to develop a rare piece. The hard part is that people got pushed out. King, McLaughlin, Yasmin, and Wilson feel the weight of this new direction. But that is how a competitive roster gets built. Practice becomes judgment, function beats name value, and every spot gets more expensive. Now David Njoku enters the picture, and the feeling changes. Because this does not feel like just another piece added to the offense. It feels like one of those rare matches where the team needs exactly what the player still wants to prove. 1 year, $8 million after almost a week of negotiations. For the Chargers, it is flexibility. For Njoku, it is a showcase. For Herbert, it is another answer in a part of the field that needed to become more dangerous. And the fit is too strong to treat like some small detail. Oronde Gadsden II and Charlie Kolar already had their roles starting to take shape in the tight end room, but the Chargers still needed somebody between those two profiles. Njoku can block, he can catch, he can line up as a complementary piece without turning into dead weight when the play changes its intention. That is gold in a Mike McDaniel offense because his attack lives on conflict. He wants defenders stuck in doubt. He wants linebackers thinking run and realizing pass too late. He wants to turn heavier personnel into a real threat through the air. Last year's numbers were not pretty. 33 catches, 293 yards, and 4 touchdowns in 2025. But only looking at that is lazy. He was also pulled into a heavier blocking role with Harold Fannin Jr. emerging in Cleveland. And honestly, that offensive environment was not the best place to measure what Njoku still has left. Recent memory matters. In 2023, he was a Pro Bowler with 81 catches, 882 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Maybe nobody should expect that exact peak again now, in year 10 of his career. But an athletic tight end, in a more competent offense with Justin Herbert distributing the ball and McDaniel creating space? Now I am listening. Now my eyebrow goes up. Now I am thinking, hold on, this could become more than a short-term signing, and that one-year deal protects both sides. Los Angeles does not lock up its future, keeps room for major extensions like Tuli Tuipulotu II and Derwin James, and still keeps an eye on the Joe Alt timeline. Njoku, on the other side, gets a real chance to rebuild his market. If he produces, he goes back to the league with a different argument. I want to know where the fan base stands in the comments. Is Njoku just a support piece, or can he become a hidden weapon for Herbert? Because I see a real emotional opportunity here, a player trying to restore his value, a quarterback needing comfort, a coordinator who knows how to create advantages. That is dangerous. And now we get to Scott Matlock, maybe the most uncomfortable story of the day, because this is not about a lack of effort. It is the opposite. Matlock is exactly the kind of player coaches love and fans learn to respect. He gives effort on every snap. He accepts the dirty work roles. He changes sides of the ball. He does the physical job. He does not complain about the path. But the NFL gets cruel when the roster starts becoming more specific. He entered the league as a defensive lineman. Then, at Jim Harbaugh's request, he moved to fullback. Now, with Mike McDaniel arriving and Alec Ingold on the roster, the story changes again. Ingold is not just another name. He was an important blocking piece in McDaniel's offense in Miami. So if the Chargers want to replicate part of that logic, with outside runs, motion, heavier looks in disguise, it makes sense to have Ingold as the specialist. And that pushes Matlock into a dangerous zone. The signal came from Chandler Henley before voluntary workouts. The tight ends coach referred to Matlock as a blocking Y tight end now, not simply a fullback. He said the team asked him to make the switch. Matlock was willing. He has been awesome, and he has gone all in. I like that. I really do. Because it shows character. It shows a player fighting for his own survival. It shows a guy saying, if there is still a door open, I am walking through it. But defending the Chargers also means facing reality without getting too romantic. The tight end room is crowded. Oronde Gadsden II, Charlie Kolar, and David Njoku should take most of the snaps, even in heavy packages. There are still other names fighting for space, and now Johnny Pascuzzi has entered that battle too. And on defense, there does not seem to be an easy path either, after the arrival of Dalvin Tomlinson and the 5th-round selection of Nick Barrett. So Matlock is stuck in a fight that is inspiring, but brutal. He probably has the athletic ability to learn the blocking tight end role if he gets time. The question is whether the NFL calendar will actually give him that time, because a 53-man roster does not reward a good story by itself. It rewards immediate use, a clear role, special teams value, health, consistency, and fit. I root for players like this, I really do. But the Chargers movement sends a cold message. This new offense is getting more specialized, and every roster spot has to justify its existence. Matlock still has a chance, but with every offensive addition, that chance starts to look less like a simple adjustment and more like a complete reinvention. In the end, all of this points in the same direction. The Chargers are moving away from building a generic offense and starting to choose players by role, rhythm, and fit. Mitchell brings explosion. Pascuzzi, Purchase, and Vakalahi show the roster fight is alive. Njoku arrives as a dangerous reset for Herbert. Matlock becomes the emotional picture of how tough this change can be, even for a player who gives everything. And I like that, even when it hurts, because serious teams do not hand out spots because a story feels good. They hand them out for impact. If you believe this new offense can become the Chargers' turning point, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and stay with me for the ride. Bolt up!